What is not negotiated? This is the next installment of the series, Negotiation Doesn't Mean What You Think It Means. You're listening to the Mistress Code. I'm RacyWilde. One of the most persistent confusions in DS, particularly within Femdom, is the question of what precisely is being negotiated. Many newcomers and even some seasoned practitioners approach negotiation as if it includes the totality of the dynamic: power, consent, limits, boundaries, activities, and even roles. But this is a fundamental misunderstanding of how negotiation functions within an asymmetrical power-based structure. To clarify, consent is never negotiated. Consent is either present, it's clear, conscious, embodied, and enthusiastic, or it is not. And if it is not, the answer must be understood as a definitive no. Consent is not a bargaining chip to be haggled over, nor is it a flexible clause within an agreement. It is the threshold, what I have elsewhere called the gateway, into the power structure itself. Once given, it enables the domination and submission to begin. It does not, however, become the bricks and mortar that structure the dynamic. To treat consent as negotiable is not only conceptually confusing, it is ethically dangerous. Now, it is important to clarify that there are two distinct modes of consent, frequently utilized within DS, sometimes simultaneously, each of which plays a different role in how authority is structured and how safety is preserved: blanket consent and continuous consent. Blanket consent is what I refer to as threshold consent. It is the initial defining yes that permits entrance into the dynamic. It is not incremental or act specific. It is foundational for access. It must be used for every DS dynamic to begin. This act of consent is from both dominant and submissive and often occurs in a single ceremonial moment, a collaring, a ritual, or a spoken vow. From that point on, consent is presumed to be ongoing unless it is withdrawn. In this model of consent, the dominant is not required to recheck consent before each command. The submissive has already consented to her rule. Even though this model is used for beginners and up, for the hardcore dynamics, it demands profound trust, deep experience, and the psychological maturity to understand the gravity of what is being entered into. High-intensity structures such as total power exchange or consensual slavery, where the submissive agrees at the outset that their body, service, or behavior will be governed entirely by the domina from that moment on. This is not a forfeit of rights. Rather, it is a conscious and consensual transfer of authority. The submissive does not erase their agency. They relocate it to their domina under her governance. To be clear, offering blanket consent does not mean the submissive cannot withdraw it. What it means is that the domina does not need to pause her power in order to secure permission every time she directs and commands. The consent offered is structural, not situational. Its purpose is to protect her authority while still preserving the submissive's ultimate autonomy. He may exit the structure whenever he wants, but within it, her authority is not co-managed. By contrast, continuous consent is another model used in power dynamics. It is a dynamic and responsive form of consent. It functions as an ongoing system of feedback and reaffirmation, ensuring that the submissive's evolving limits, states, and needs are accounted for in real time. Once threshold blanket consent has been granted, continuous consent ensures the dynamic remains attuned to the moment-to-moment reality of both parties, especially as intensities shift or emotional needs and care deepen. It is particularly vital in dynamics where activities are exploratory or variable, or where the domina wishes to adapt or change the initial parameters of play. In most contemporary BDSM communities, continuous consent is formalized through the traffic light system, red, yellow, green, as well as pre-agreed check-ins or gestures. These mechanisms are not indications of weak power exchange. They are markers of high integrity DS. Continuous consent keeps the domination container ethical. It ensures the submissive retains agency over thresholds while still allowing the domina freedom within the boundaries of informed agreement. Even within continuous consent models, the structure must be clear. The domina may act freely until a limit is invoked. It is not the submissive's role to pre-approve every act. That would render the domina's governance inert. Rather, continuous consent allows for the domina to use mystery and surprise, two very important elements of Femdom that create intensity. The submissive retains the right to stop the structure, not to direct it, and that distinction is essential to maintaining both power and ethics in tandem. Consent is not the only concept that is often miscast as negotiable. Limits and boundaries, too, are frequently mistaken for items to be debated, adjusted, or pushed in negotiation. This conflation compromises ethical distinctions and destabilizes the ethical framework of the dynamic. The next installment of this pod will be Limits are Thresholds, Not Terms.